It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Throws, ends up, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Welcome on to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker, J.D. Walker. Eric Franson is MIA. He's attending to other business. So we mentioned this yesterday that he wouldn't be on the show. So you got a bit of a warning for this one. So you got to deal with me and J.D. for the entire show.
I think Eric's working on some secret conference realignment plan that he has been invited to, and we'll hear all about it when he comes back.
Yeah, they're consulting him, all the industry leaders, as they always say, when they release this new idea for a super league. They say, our group has all the industry leaders and think tanks and all that. And that's how you know they're serious, because they have Joe from accounting, who at one point worked for NBC or something.
It sounds like a Super Friends, that old cartoon, the superhero thing. It just sounds like kind of a cartoon teaser for that.
Basically. So lots to go over for today. Something's involving a new proposal for a super league. This one a lot worse than the one we saw last week. And an ironic name, to be perfectly honest. But we'll also take kind of our first look at UNLV, the homecoming opponent for Utah State this Friday. We've got a Friday, so we got to kind of accelerate our normal preview schedule a little bit. Because it's a Friday night game this time instead of Saturday night or Saturday afternoon football. We've also got Utah Hockey Club. We've had all this preamble and, spent a lot of time talking to a bunch of hockey experts. Of course, we got JD on here. He'll help us out. But Utah Hockey Club going to play for real, for keeps, for the first time tonight. 8 p.m. puck drops.
And it'll be here on the Fan also.
Yes, it will. You'll be able to hear that. So I think we're going to have a show shortened slightly, either because of a Jazz game or a Hockey Club game. I can't remember. I think that's going to happen on Friday. Maybe. I'm going to have to double check. It was on my calendar that I wrote shortened show at some point in October. Maybe I should double check when that is. But it won't be by much, I don't think.
Yeah, Aggie Game Day, we'll go back to our full hour 45 coverage starting at 5 o'clock over on KVNU 102.1. And yeah, it's a short week. Friday night, get to be on the radio under the Friday night lights. You're going to be up there for the homecoming game.
Yeah,
we're hoping. I'm optimistic over here, but of course
You're optimistic about the Boise game.
You know what? I'm trying to be positive about.
That's
everything.
a good thing. We need positive. I've had people that come up to me like there was one point where somebody came up to me and was like, "Look, everyone thinks your coverage is all negative," and I was like, "Not really, but I guess I'll look into it." And I've tried to maintain the at least not overtly negative. Like, call it out when I need to call it out. But there's some things where I'm just be like, okay, I'm just going to kind of let this lie.
I've been doing this radio thing for about 30 years now. I started when I was a sophomore in high school, and I listened to Jason. And when I listen to Jason, I know I'm getting straight through. There's a lot of fan is short for fanatics. Yeah. So I get a lot of emotion. In fact, if you listen to Aggie Call after the Boise State game, I was a little perturbed, and I'm trying to work on that. But we always want to, call it like it is. And Jason, as a journalist, as a media personality, I've got to give you props. When I go all over the place, I'm optimistic. I'm a hot-headed Irish man. But Jason here is level-headed. So I know when Jason puts out content or he says something, I listen, even if I don't like hearing it, because sometimes even the doctor tells us we need medicine for things.
Yeah.
Jason's going to keep it on the real. And that's not just blowing smoke, my friend.
I'm still going to slide that $5 bill over your way.
Inflation's hit a little bit much. It's $7.50 or like a 12-pack of nugs from McDonald's.
All right.
It will be good. But, yeah, I get it. And that's how I want to be on Aggie Game Day and everything else, I want to be positive and support our student athletes, rise the program, and do things like that. But sometimes we have to deal with stuff that's real and that is negative.
Yeah, when things go bad, they go bad. And ignoring that isn't healthy. But there is also a point, like, you know, when things are going well, like especially during a game, like I'll be on social media and I'll be posting all this and all the different records that are being broken or this trend that hasn't happened in forever. And when things go terrible, I'll be tweeting about it. And then after a while, my social media posts either stop or get incredibly dry. Cause I'm just like, you can only hammer on a team for so long before it just becomes pointless. And there's no benefits after a point of just dragging a team through the mud.
But let's swing the pendulum the other way. If we come out and we beat UNLV and we put up a 60 burger on them and go out there, I'm going to be at the goalpost trying to drag them down and walk them all the way to Bear Lake to put them in the lake. Jason's going to be the one that keeps me out of jail because he helps the pendulums from swinging too far negative and too far positive so that I stay out of that mug shot there on that Cache Valley Daily.
Yeah, we can't have that. We don't need, local radio host ends up in jail for streaking on the football field and trying to take down the goalposts.
I said nothing about streaking, but it's a good idea. So it's gonna be fun this weekend. UNLV, the herd's gonna be there. My whole family is gonna be there. I hear a lot of buzz around town that even with the record, guess what? We're still gonna support our Aggies up there for homecoming.
Yeah, and that's the biggest key. I see a lot of people saying, "Hey, look, support the athletes, support the program," and that's what you need. Like when you abandon the program, then it only makes things worse. And we're going to talk about women's basketball later because I had a chance to go to media days, and they're a program that's trying to turn things around. And that's a program that fans have kind of just abandoned. They ignore. They don't pay attention to. Well, what happened? Then they're, they have a head coach who can't get, fans to a game. And it has kind of a self-fulfilling effect where, for men's basketball, people show up and they cheer, and that helps the team win games that might not otherwise win, bolster the team. Like they're having a bad night, but the crowd's in it and they rally with that momentum and they end up beating a team. That's happened several times in the last few years. And you don't have that as much with some of these other sports, and especially with women's basketball, and they don't have the support, they don't have the fan base, and it becomes, again, a self-fulfilling cycle. You don't want to just abandon a program and let them figure it out themselves.
Absolutely not.
And that's what's frustrating when I see women's basketball. That's a program that I've been hoping and trying to hype up and say, every year I'm hyping them up saying this might be the year. And I'm probably going to do that again because trying to will that into existence and not sugarcoating the fact that they've been terrible for years because they've been left to their own. But just like when you say, okay, don't abandon the football program because right now they're not good. Mm-hmm. Don't abandon any program just because they're not good.
No, there's no reason to walk away. Yes, there can be frustrating things that happen on the field, and there can be a lot of stuff that happens off the field. But basically, this is the generation of Aggies that's going through this right now, and they're going to be the future alum. They're going to be the Aggies that are sending their kids and their grandkids here to Logan. And we need to take care of them. That doesn't mean sugarcoating stuff and, feeding you, a line of stuff that you don't know is true. But it means being honest and real. And also, at the end of the day, using the microphone here to support our student athletes up the hill. That's my goal for Aggie Game Day. That's my goal whenever I crack the mic to talk about Utah State, is to uplift the athletes and the students that are going up the hill.
Yeah, it's sports. Sports are meant to be fun. And that's the thing about this job. It's fun. And some of that fun is, in a weird way, helped along by the fact that there are bad times. When there's bad, then there's good. That's just a principle of life.
Yeah, it's the thing. You learn as much from losing in life as you do from winning. When you look at a program like Alabama or something, when their football team has to go undefeated or it's considered a lost season, that's just, it's kind of unrealistic expectations for things. Let's break it down. If Utah State goes on a run through the Mountain West, there's a chance that they could play for the conference championship. We're only 5 games into the season. Things can turn around and go big, but never at a point should we walk away from a program because guess what? There's always going to be next year. And there's always going to be those new student athletes that are coming in and those returning student athletes that we want to get behind.
Yeah. So let's take a dive into this UNLV game.
Okay.
And, what does it take for Utah State to try and at least start to turn things around? Now, they are going to avoid that 4 ranked teams in 5 weeks thing, or 6 weeks, because there's the bye in between. 4 ranked opponents in 5 matchups. That would have been the first time in program history that had ever happened. They've had a few 3 out of 4s in history, and this is going to join that. So, but the thing is, UNLV was recently ranked 25th. There's a reason for that. They got booted not only out of the top 25. I don't think anybody voted for them in the AP poll to begin with. They had 0 points. So the AP poll kind of gave up on them. But this is a good UNLV team. They're 4-1 now, I believe.
Yep.
And, they did make the quarterback change. But Malik Williams pretty much stepping in right where Sluka left off. Very similar in terms of their strengths. Although Malik Williams is completing like 80% of his passes, where Sluka was like at a sub 50% completion rate.
Yeah, actually, just looking at the stats now, Williams' actually completion rate is 82.9% compared to 43.8%. So I don't know who needs to be paid $100,000 down in Vegas for getting rid of their starting quarterback, but some agent is a genius and played a slow play to get Hodge there.
Basically, yeah, as Malik Williams, I think he's at what was the last 2 games his game log, because he ran for 116, I believe, in the first game, and only 53, I guess, in the game against Syracuse, but he threw for 227. He's at 6 touchdowns to 1 interception. As you mentioned, the 82% completion percentage. Not a lot of volume passing, but efficient in those games. 13 of 16 in the win over Fresno State. 21 of 25 against Syracuse. 2 rushing touchdowns. This is a guy with 8 total touchdowns in 2 starts. But they did lose to Syracuse in overtime. And losing that one 44-41. I'm suddenly forgetting the score. I was looking at it earlier today.
44-41, I believe.
Yeah, so obviously a tough loss, and kind of, I don't want to say derails. It's kind of like you get a race car going around a hairpin turn, their back wheels start sliding a bit. And it's like, it might go wrong from here, or they're going to fix it and just go down the back stretch. Because UNLV was rolling with that 4-0 start. Then they roll over Fresno State, make a statement with that win. Then they lose to Syracuse. They're out of the top 25. And their playoff hopes take a bit of a hit. But I'd say they control their own destiny to make it to the playoffs. I don't think they really need help, because if they win out, that means they're beating Boise State later this month. A team that could be ranked in the top 15 by then. Boise State's ranked 17 now. And they'd probably end up beating Boise State again. Again, this is assuming if they're running the table. Then Boise State, presumably the team they'll face in the Mountain West title game. And it would be in Las Vegas, be a rematch of last year's Mountain West title game. And if they beat them again there, they're in the playoff. Because at this point, their main competition is Army and Navy, a couple of military academies who are receiving votes in the AP poll. And if you kind of use the AP poll as the current stand-in for the yet to be released, playoff poll. So kind of using the AP poll as your measuring stick, UNLV is pretty much 4th, or presumably 4th in that, because you have Boise State, then Navy, and I think Army's right behind them, and then UNLV.
I was looking at that Army-Navy stuff, the strength of schedule for those guys. I mean, there's, 134 teams? It's ironic that the strength of schedule for both Navy and Army is like 370th.
Yeah.
They could win out. I think they play each other, though, at some point.
Yeah, I believe they will play each other.
Yeah, hence the Army-Navy game.
Yeah.
But I don't think strength of schedule. They could both win out against each other and somehow walk away a W each of the Army-Navy game, but I don't think they're getting in.
Except the thing is, I think the Army-Navy game happens after all the bowl selection and stuff. So I don't think that game actually has an impact.
Okay, what is it with the military schools that don't do the transfer portal, NIL, or have late bowl games? Can we get them to fall in line a little bit?
I don't know. I kind of like it.
Oh, okay, never mind.
I genuinely enjoy the military academy games. That is just college football classic. It's it represents a lot of what I kind of wish college football was, and what it no longer is about.
Ladies and gentlemen, Coach Jason Walker running the triple option. Something you actually said keyed me on the UNLV Syracuse game, and it was before we were talking about that, about the adrenaline shot that they got from Fresno, that whole situation coming through. It was a big matchup with Syracuse. I questioned the UNLV fan base if they would show up, and to their credit, they did. They showed up. It was the third most attended UNLV game in history.
Those cheap tickets doing the trick.
Yeah, we're talking about that 25 Groupon. But anyway, come on down and see Wayne Newton. We'll give you a ticket to see UNLV take on Syracuse. But anyway, they had that injection. I'm looking at the stats here. Yes, they have talented. The defense is very interesting to me. They have been the backbone for what's going on there in Nevada. I think that defense has kept them in it. Last week was kind of weird to watch them get in a shootout with Syracuse. Of course, Syracuse is a little bit more of a talent when you think about recruiting and depth and stuff like that. But I'm wondering if they're coming here on a Friday night, they're going to recover. They're looking at us, at our record, and maybe not paying attention. I think Utah is a better team than UNLV. I think Boise at this point is a better team than UNLV. And we were able to put up some points when we started our second quarter game plan, which is the game plan I hope we have for the whole UNLV game to get it down there. But one of the big matchups, we've got Ricky White, the third, down there against our own Jalen Royals. White, 30 catches so far, almost 400 yards, 6 touchdowns. We got Royals that just went out of his mind last game. 34 receptions for almost 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. Ricky White, though, punt block specialist down there at UNLV. Really special talent. Friday night, focus on those 2 wide receivers. It is going to be a preview of, I think, a couple of guys you're going to watch on Sunday here in a few years.
Yeah, definitely. I think both could end up making the jump to the NFL after this season. It's definitely guys that you should be paying attention for. Let's hear from head coach Nate Dreiling talking about the offense, because they do got guys like Ricky White. There's also a team that's really good at running the ball. So let's hear from Dreiling in his thoughts on the UNLV offense.
I think they do a very good job of forcing eye discipline, meaning they have a lot of fast movers before the ball is snapped, which could change your picture. So it's all about getting your feet set and your eyes set. You look at their big plays, it's when people are moving on the snap. And now people don't uphold gap integrity on the defense, which is their number one objective. Then you throw that in, and they throw some triple option offense as well. So you have to be QB sound. Their quarterback is a very good runner, as I'm sure you guys are aware of. So not only do you have to defend versus the shot plays, but now you have to be +1 on quarterback all along with hand in pre-snap motion. So it's a lot coming at you at once. I think that's obviously a huge part why they have success.
I think one of the first things that Nate Dreiling said there, where he talks about eye discipline, because that's something that he's focused on a lot, and something that he said needed to improve. It was something he said a few weeks ago. I don't think he harped on it as much after the Boise game and in this week's press conference. But as far as eye discipline and in knowing where the guys you're supposed to guard are, and knowing which spots of the field you need to be covering based on what you're seeing from the offense, both pre-snap and post-snap, I do feel like that's something that the Aggies are still struggling with. For my Monday cooldown, I put together a compilation of all the times that Maddox Madsen for Boise State threw to a wide open receiver. I judged as kind of eyeballing is somebody within 5 yards of the receiver. And I think out of 25 passes, 14 of them were of the wide open variety using that criteria.
It was kind of going back to watch the game on Sunday. I noticed a lot of our zone coverage in the back. Now, I'm not a coverage expert, but seeing that they were just sitting, like they were just finding the routes to just kind of take advantage of where there were the gaps in that coverage. And then you can't miss. If you miss receivers, you're going to pay for it big. We saw Genty. He's a tackle breaking machine. But, yeah, it was one of those things where, okay, why is this area of the field left so wide open? And then trying to see the adjustments. And I know Coach has got a lot on his plate, being the defensive coordinator, but then also being the chief guy, how to make those adjustments to close up those spots in the field, because there was some gaping holes. And you're very kind. 5 yards is very nice. I think you could have gone 10 to sometimes.
Well, there were a few that I still would have had 4 or 5 that were 10 plus yards, but yeah, just the fact that so many were just like not contested or not even slightly bothered. Because like the difference between those, so on those 14 passes, he completed 13 of them. The one time he didn't was because he had a defender right in his face and he overthrew the man because he was throwing off his back foot, trying not to get his head taken off. The other, so I think it came down to 11 passes. He still completed like 8 of them, but he went from, on those 14 passes, I think he was averaging like 11.9 yards per attempt. And then on the others where, again, didn't matter. Like a lot of times they still caught the ball when there was a defender in the area, but it went down to like 5, I think, yards per attempt, which is below average. Usually you're wanting to sit somewhere in that 7 range, give or take, for an average quarterback. Kind of like how running backs, you want to see 4.5 yards per carry. You want to be like north of at least 6.5, closer to 7 or 8. Anything above that, then you're doing spectacularly. And so, yeah, like they would still give up completions on some of these ones where maybe the defender's closer, but then they tackle him or it would be a shorter gain. But yeah, if you're just giving wide open passes, and that doesn't bode well when you're looking at a quarterback now who's completed 80, almost 85% of his passes, you're going to give him wide open targets. He might not throw an incompletion the whole game. They've got to get that nailed down.
I see that. I think he'll complete a high number of passes, but I don't think the number of passes will be as much as Madsen did last week with Boise State. When our defensive backs, Graham, Dickerson, Ike, Vincent, when those guys are close to the play and the ball's up, that is where they are the best. They are some fighters for the ball and do some incredible things. Maybe an adjustment in coverage. I don't know what the solution is, but I know when Dickerson or Graham is close to the ball, even if the receiver catches it, there's a chance for a forced fumble, there's a chance for a pick, there's a chance for a pass deflection, because that's how good that skill set is in the defensive secondary. Putting them in that position is what I want to see Coach Dreiling do to be competitive for those balls.
Yes, that's the problem, is they're not close to the ball.
That's the
issue we're running into, because I'm with you there, and that these guys can make plays, make big hits, intercept a pass or tip a pass in a lot of cases. It's the fact that somehow, some way, either the coach isn't putting them in the right position or they're not executing the defense. Something is going wrong there, because you do not give up 14 wide open passes if the defense is doing what it's supposed to do. Like, offenses are designed to be able to move defenders, in a zone, move them out, and then bring a receiver into the spot where the defense clears out. Like, that is something offenses are designed to do, but defenses are designed to also try and counter those exact things. And so you talk about eye discipline, knowing, hey, look, this wide receiver is trying to clear me out here and get me to follow him, but I know the safety behind me is going to pick him up, or this other corner or linebacker is going to pick up that zone, and then I've got to stick with my spot. No, is there a receiver coming into my area? On film, like, this guy runs this route, but I know I need to watch for this guy because he's about to come into my zone. They need to be on point with that, and they haven't been.
I've got to say it's the coaching. I don't have any inside information or anything like that, but once, twice, 3 times, we're starting to see a pattern. So there's got to be in-game adjustments being made to doing that. And one thing that Coach Dreiling said beginning of the season that stuck out to me was that we are going to adapt to the players and the talent that we have and adapt our scheme to that. It was one of the first press conferences I heard Coach talking, and we need to assess that defense a little bit more and find out we have got ballers on defense. We have got talented players. I'm going to lean on this one. 14 big passes. That's not just blown assignments. That's blown coaching scheme for that, because you're getting into a longer pattern. You put these guys in the right coaching scheme, and you dial that in. We're 5 games in now. We need to be closer to that. I know we've got circumstances, but got to get closer to using those guys as their talent is. As Coach said in the beginning of the season, adapt the scheme to the talent you have on defense.
All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. When we come back, keep talking maybe some of the defensive things that the Aggies need to take care of, because I don't think either of us are particularly worried about the offense, at least with some of the steps they've taken forward. The UNLV run game, I know we've talked a lot about the pass. That run game could be a very key aspect to this game because you've got a mobile quarterback who's going to look to run the ball regularly. The Aggies have faced some mobile quarterbacks, but they've not, I don't think, faced a quarterback who is looking to run on a consistent basis. So we'll talk about that. We'll hear from Coach Dreiling, some of his thoughts on that. Coming up next here on the Full Court Press.
Are you looking for compassionate and reliable care for yourself or a loved one? Look no further than Aegis Home Health and Hospice. I'm Tom Sherlock, a licensed social worker, part of the dedicated team of professionals committed to meeting the needs of our community. Voted best in Northern Utah 2 years in a row, we pride ourselves on delivering exceptional service that you can depend on. We're here to ensure comfort and dignity every step of the way. When it comes to your health, choose the agency that Northern Utah trusts the most. Choose Aegis. Visit myaegis.com or call today 435-723-9000.
Clean it up and get it out before the snow flies. Don't wait another winter. Let DD Auto and Salvage pay you for that junk vehicle. DD Auto and Salvage makes it so easy and fast to get rid of your junker vehicles by paying you the most money possible. Pickup is available. If you have metal, DD Auto and Salvage in Logan wants to pay you today. Call 787-1204. That's 787-1204 today. See store for details.
Now here's a concept. You earmark 1/3 of your profits to go back into the community, to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Anthony Wagoner, and I'd like to share with you what I know about Dex, the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Join us in creating the brightest image for tomorrow. Contact us at deximaging.com.
Join the show by calling 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Jason Walker, JD Walker here. Talking the walk here on the Full Court Press.
It's the Walker family reunion.
I used to have a podcast, one of the first podcasts I did that's, just getting into sports, and I called it Talk the Walk.
Talk the walk.
Just off my, Walker.
I like
Talk
it,
the
though.
walk.
I like it. Shocker. I've had the Walker last name not my whole life. It's actually a tribute to somebody I started in radio with a long time. They had a little guy named J.D. Walker. So it's kind of just stuck forever.
There you go.
Yeah.
So let's talk about UNLV, their run offense. This is a team that, for all the going over Utah State, giving up all those passing yards and open passing plays to Boise State. Boise State, they were a team that leaned more on the run game, but Maddox Madsen basically had arguably the best game of his career. I think it was the second time he's had 3 touchdowns and no interceptions. I think the only other time he did that was against an FCS team. Or maybe it was the second time against an FBS team. I forget those. I throw them all in my Monday cooldown, and then I forget all the stats. But they leaned on him. Maybe UNLV will do the same. Haj Malik Williams, 34 of 41 through 2 games with UNLV. And, but a running team, especially with Malik Williams and with Sluka, like those two guys, like Matthew Sluka and Haj Malik Williams are the 2 leading rushers. Like Sluka is still the leader in rush attempts for UNLV, despite the fact that he's not played in the last 2 games.
He's still looking for that NIL deal.
Still looking for the 100,000. He's second on the team in rushing. He has 253. Malik Williams did pass him. He now has 260 yards now in his 2 games. They do have guys like Jaden Thomas, Greg Burrell. Michael Allen was on the team, but he's also left. But he's like 6th or 7th in rushing yards now. So this is a team that's averaging 251 rushing yards of offense per game. They like to run the ball on the ground. The Aggies have struggled at times with stopping the run. But one thing I did want to ask in particular was stopping a running quarterback, because the Aggies have, Evan Simon back with Temple, like he gained some yards on the ground, but he's not really like a running quarterback. He's that more Fran Tarkenton scramble, get yards if you want to. He's not Lamar Jackson where he's running the ball to run the ball.
Props to the Fran Tarkenton reference. That was
there. You go. That's my dad's favorite player. I know. I got Fran Tarkenton. But so I asked Dreiling specifically about defending a mobile quarterback who's looking to run, and how the defense will try and handle that.
It's tough. They're a vertical shot passing game. They've started throwing a lot more RPOs with their new guy playing, so you have to play somewhat tight coverage. If not, they'll just take what the defense gives them. But then at the same time, in their shots, you got to make sure you close the post and prevent anybody from getting behind you, all while making sure the quarterback just doesn't outrun your pass rush and you're contained. So he's kind of the complete package, kind of exactly what that offense is looking for. So you really get stressed on a lot of pieces. So it comes down to, once again, eye discipline, getting where I need to be, and then keeping the quarterback in the pocket.
Yeah, keeping the quarterback in the pocket. That's huge. Utah State, I keep making this joke. I've said it on air. I've said it when watching games. Utah State is the worst team at converting their pressures into actual sacks. Like, the number of times I've watched Utah State player have a quarterback dead to rights, beat the tackle so bad that the tackle just gives up. And then the quarterback just sidesteps him, ole, and then runs for a 20-yard gain.
What you guys didn't see is Jason did the perfect bullfighter, ole. Like, all of a sudden I'm picturing a fedora and a red thing. But, yeah, you're right. It's going to be difficult. And Hodge has brought some new energy to this UNLV team, but they can be beat. And Syracuse proved that. There's a little bit of a blueprint out there. Now, Syracuse has got their own stuff that they're facing this year, 4-1. But if you look at the stats from the game, they forced Williams to go to the air and beat them. He did rush for 53 yards. You got Thomas that also run for 64, but they had only 127 yards on the ground and had to get into the shootout with Syracuse. Now, the Utah State offense has got some octane in it, and we saw some things out there. And if that means you have to target Jalen Royals 45 times to get, 37 catches, we're all good with that. But there is a way to stop them. And I think the best way to do that, Jason, is to make Williams throw it through the air. Even though he's very, very, good at that completion rate, I'm looking here, and there was one big break by Ricky White, but the other ones are just kind of smaller pass catches and smaller averages. So if we're not worried about taking the top off the defense or keep somebody, watching Ricky, might have a chance to stay in this game.
Yeah, it's the elimination of big plays. That's something that the defense keeps saying, okay, we got to stop big plays, stop big plays. They keep saying it. They don't do it. But if they do it finally, if things finally click, and that can happen. There are games where things will just click, and maybe this will be that, where they can key in on Ricky White and then just try and keep Malik Williams, again, from making the big play. Okay, if he runs for 6 yards, okay, we can live with that. But don't let him run for 16 or 60. Make the teams go on long drives and don't give up the wide open passes. Maybe give up the short passes and then make a tackle. I don't know if you'll stop UNLV. This is a team that's scored at least 41 points in 3 out of their last 4 games, or at least their last 2 games they scored 41 points. The other one was at 72 points against Utah Tech. But, there have been teams that show, like Houston, Kansas, they both held UNLV. They both lost to UNLV, but they both held them between 23 and 27 points. So there's teams that have been able to do that. So can Utah State find a way to do it? I don't know. Skeptical of this defense. But I think more importantly is if the offense can just keep up, because that may be what they just need to do. Mm-hmm. Syracuse found a way to put up 44 points against him. This Utah State offense is starting to come together a little bit. Spencer Petras getting into a bit of a rhythm. He's finally comfortable throwing the ball beyond 10 yards. Finally realized, Jalen Royals can run past players, and I can just throw it to him. Mm-hmm. And then he did it. And what do you know? They scored multiple touchdowns. The Royals has like 211 receiving yards.
Just an amazing performance out there. Have we heard for John Ross May health on him, his forearm?
Yeah, we got the we'll find out later this week answer from Coach Dreiling.
Heads up, we've talked about this and discussed this from behind the scenes. The next time Coach says we're going to find out on Thursday in the week and we don't have media availability, Like, I want to straight up say, hey, man, like, we're interested. We're invested. I know if you're not going to give out the information, just say you're not going to give out the information.
So what you're saying is I should call up Utah State on Thursday. Should I just do that? Just call them up? Like, all right, you told me you find out on Thursday.
Hey, look, the coach has said it several weeks, and we've been asking up until game time to find out who's going to be there and who's not. And, you know, it's important to the Aggie fans and stuff to find out. I understand if you want to play it close to the vest and not, like, say, hey, who's going to do this and who's going to be out. I understand that gamesmanship. But don't say on your press conference, you're going to tell us, and then there's no way for you to tell us, and you're not telling us, and then that's just your answer next week. That you're a football coach for a D1 school. Let's clean that up a little bit.
Coach has got to learn the game of not giving up injuries.
Yeah,
secrets.
just tell us you're not going to give them up, and that's fine, and we won't.
That's what every other coach does.
Yeah, but if you tell me, hey, Thursday, like, I clear my whole calendar for Coach Dreiling on Thursday, waiting for that update, and it never comes.
Yeah. That's the way it is. I'm just waiting on the day that they have injury reports, because that's going to happen eventually. Although it may be conference by conference by conference. Because I think right now there's a conference that has injury reports, and I suddenly can't remember who it is. It's one of the power conferences, I think. I want to say it's the SEC, but I can't remember. I know it's not the Big 12, because I keep seeing stuff about Kyle Whittingham, and actually they asked him about injury reports. Like I said, yeah, I'd be fine with injury reports, but until then, I'm not telling you anything.
Nothing.
Like, it was just open with it. It was like, I'm not going to. It's part of the game. It's a puny advantage, and it's not really like everyone's just preparing for the guy who's injured anyway. But whatever small advantage it is, it's an advantage. It's why you never hear about quarterback injuries. They basically pretend everybody's coming back this week, and then half the team's injured.
And, you know, I'm not sitting here going, I want to know about John Ross May's injury because I want to be up on his business. I want to know about John Ross May's health because I want to see him back out on the field.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of this young man. He's got a motor that is just, it sounds like a 60s muscle car just sitting at a stoplight with that whomp, whomp, whomp. And then when he hits the gas, man, he goes. You want to track down Williams this week? You want to help keep that short pass game? John Ross May, man, is the answer to a lot of those things. And that's why the injury question is important.
The problem is that we're going to get injury reports not because of honest, real fans like you. It's because of degenerate gamblers.
Yeah, I know.
That's why we're going to get injury reports.
I lived in Vegas for a long time. I can tell you the 5 times I gambled on my one hand. It's just not my thing. But I know sports gambling is a big thing, and I told you I'm here to support the student athletes up the hill. I want to use our megaphone to help bring them the recognition they deserve. And John Ross May is one of these players on that team that I am just thoroughly impressed by. So knowing his status for the game, that tells me if, hey, is my optimism going to be at the level of Santa Claus, or is it going to be on the level of Santa Claus, the Tooth Fairy, and the Easter Bunny? That's it. That's it.
All right, on that note, we got to take another break. We'll be back after this here on the Full Court Press. Jason Walker, JD Walker.
Cold weather is here, which means you'll be using your gas fireplace again. Let Advanced Fireplace and Stove, the 4-time Best of Northern Utah gold medal winner, help you get it ready for those cold Cache Valley winters. Schedule a service call with one of their service pros today and receive 20% off if you mention this ad. If you're building a new home, Advanced Fireplace and Stove can design and install a Heat and Glow fireplace. From traditional to modern, Heat and Glow has something for every design and every budget. Find out more at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
Fall is here. This is Mark at the Sportsman on Main Street. I invite you into our amazing store to see the new fall collection of amazing clothing, shoes, and outerwear for women and men. We have brands like Cool, Fiore, Fjallraven, and we have brought in some new brands from Europe that you will love. Trust me, you will look truly unique in whatever you buy from the Sportsman. Come in and let us take care of you. You'll be glad you did. For over 75 years, come and see us at the Sportsman on Main in downtown Logan with tons of parking in the back.
22 years ago, Cafe Sabor opened in the historic train station. Come celebrate this October as Cafe Sabor says thanks. Thank you to the hundreds of amazing employees and thousands of wonderful customers that have made Cafe Sabor Cache Valley's favorite Latin restaurant. Receive free spinach artichoke dip, free fried ice cream, or churros with the purchase of 2 entrees. A simple but delicious way to say thank you. Free spinach artichoke dip, fried ice cream, or churros at Cafe Sabor's 22nd anniversary celebration. See server for details.
This is Kyle at Advanced Door, and we guarantee every garage door we install for a lifetime, parts and labor. That's every door, every spring, every roller, every track, every motor. The entire garage door system guaranteed for a lifetime. Parts and labor. We're Advanced Door, and we guarantee you'll be hearing this for a long time. Find out more at advanced-door.com. That's advanced-door.com.
It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
So, some big news with college football today.
Realignment talk?
No. Not actually a realignment.
Are we joining the National Hockey League or the MLB, the National League?
The what?
The NBA? WNBA.
Utah State men's basketball officially going to join the WNBA.
All right. We get to see Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
There we go. We got to see Sabrina Ionescu in the Spectrum. She was here a few years back.
Yeah.
Oregon somehow ended up getting roped into playing Utah State in the Spectrum one year. I have no clue how that happened. Oregon was ranked 3rd in the nation at the time.
There is a Nike connection between our schools, I have found out.
Maybe.
There seems to be a former Aggie alum that's pretty high up in Nike. And then, of course, Uncle Phil is as we know him in Oregon.
Maybe that's how it happened. I just don't know how Oregon ended up playing Utah State in Logan. But it was cool. I went to the game, got to watch. It's why Sabrina Ionescu is one of my favorite players. Follow her. It's yes, she was one of the first to me, when I was first watching more women's basketball, she was the star. She was the star in college. And I was wondering if she was going to have, we have the Caitlin Clark effect now. I thought she was maybe going to be that. Wasn't quite it. Caitlin Clark ended up being that. But that's the player I ended up following. She was with the New York Liberty. I think she's still there.
Yeah.
I've kind of lost track of her a little bit in the WNBA.
They took out the Aces.
They did.
Yeah.
So very good team. And she's blossomed into one of the stars of the WNBA, which not too surprising. Number one pick in her draft. But the news for college football, a couple of bits. One is that there's another Super League. We talked about a proposed Super League last week that was trying to realign everyone into, there was a power conference level and everyone was divided into 7 or 8, team leagues based pretty much entirely on geography. And then you had, a group of 5 or whatever the name was, and they were also based on geography. It was a system that's you made this and it looks cool and it'd probably work. I didn't have too much of a problem with it. I know they tried to pretend they were going to have relegation and promotion, although it was kind of half-baked. That was about the only criticism they had, is that they pretended to think they were going to do relegation and promotion. That was about the worst thing you could say about it. Otherwise, it was it's fine. It's not a huge deal. The one that came out today, that's the one that kind of ticks me off, because it's the closest I've come to swearing in a tweet for a while. Because it was one where it's basically this idea, this thing they call Project Rudy.
Oh my, Rudy.
Which is in itself is a stupid name, because you think about, I'm pretty sure it's overtly based on Rudy from the movie.
Rudenberger, get in there.
And the the real life individual, the walk-on at Notre Dame, who is synonymous with underdog, hopeless underdog. And this whole Project Rudy is entirely based on murdering Rudy, essentially. That's the spirit of this, is just straight up murdering the underdog. Because it's about basically getting the power conference teams, get them all together, have them never play anyone in the G5, eliminate all those games, and basically just have a new Super League where it's just basically a new league. It's just cutting the group of 5 out of college basketball, relegating them to a back seat essentially permanently. And apparently there's a bunch of executives among these bigger conferences that think this kind of thing is inevitable, that they're just going to create their own league. They're going to shove the group of 5 aside, and that's just going to be that. And this whole project entirely based on, they say everybody is going to be saved except the group of 5, because F them.
Oh, that's strong there. It kind of reminds me a little bit, and correct me if I'm wrong, of the golf PGA Tour, the Live Golf thing, where They paid like heavy end to a lot of superstars to try to put this up. Everybody's going to try to come up, and it's basically, in my point of view, Jason, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody sitting there in an office and said, "Hey, we're going to be left out of all this stuff. We should probably have a plan, and we should probably have a really cool name, and we should probably call it Super because everybody loves stuff that's Super." But it's just another layout. Yes, college football is changing, and we've seen that. We've gone from, having the AP announce the national championship and not really having a national championship game and just having bowl games, to having kind of the national championship game, to having the college football playoff, to have an expanded one. So it's always going to grow and adjust. But leaving out institutions, because it said 70, right? So that means there's 60-something institutions that are out, that are the backbone for athletics in their communities and maybe even their states. But also, these are also feeder leagues to professional sports and other professional avenues. You're trying to cut that down. You're going to cut the talent pool way down. And I feel like it's going to turn college football into something that would not really resemble what is great about college football.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that college football is a wonderful thing because, as you mentioned, it's almost akin to, you look at soccer, or since I'm going to England here, so maybe we can call it football there. Mm-hmm. You have your random, English league team, may not be in the Premier League, but it's the backbone of that community.
Absolutely.
And it might be the most irrelevant team ever, but everyone there loves it, and everyone there roots for that team. And no matter what it was, it's just this pure root for your team. They're part of the larger league. They're never going to win the Premier League title, but it's just kind of this pure system. Maybe I'm romanticizing English football or English soccer, but that's, I feel like, what college football here can be in America, because that's what sets it apart from the NFL. Like, people don't watch college football because it's the best football in the world. Like, if you're saying it's the best football in the world, you're just lying to yourself. It is orders of magnitude worse in terms of quality than the NFL. Mm-hmm. Everything is just way better in the NFL. Everything's bigger, better, faster, stronger. And yet, millions of people rationally and logically love college football more than they do the NFL. Mm-hmm. And it's not because of the football. It's because of the community and the history and the way that, everything just kind of fits together. And there's a magic about it that the NFL will never be able to capture. And right now we're seeing that actively thrown in the trash.
And it's sad because, I've talked about a little bit my experience. I moved here to Cache Valley about 3 years ago. I've been doing radio a long time, and I really live in my dream over on our sister station, KLZX, spinning classic rock and talking Aggie sports here with Jason and stuff. And it's different here. There's people, there's a culture, and I believe a lot of that has to do with Utah State and the Aggies. And so I'll tell you what, my Seahawks got stomped by the Giants this weekend. I was taking a nap, Jason, because I was watching Utah State before, and I'm still bummed about that on Sunday. And I had to force myself to be positive and find the positive things and go through that. But you're absolutely right. There are families that go up to Merlin Olsen Field together every time the Aggies play because it's a family experience. And yeah, these execs sit in a room somewhere and see things, but they don't experience the backbone of that in college football towns across the country. That's why I think a plan like this will fail. And really, in the day of NIL, when the rules get put in and things are there, revenue sharing comes out, I think there's going to be a more balance of the distribution. I'm trying to use big words, laying out all the funds to these athletes, and it's going to kind of rise the competition. We've kind of seen that in some things. That's down the road, because right now the rich are just rich, but trying to do a super conference or anything like this, it's going to hurt so many communities, so many college football towns, that it's really the way of life there. Like, I've known now that Cache Valley is all about the Aggies. I mean, it's like you cross the Sardine Canyon over here, and then, you know what? BYU and the Utes don't matter. This place is fortified for the Aggies, and I love being a part of that. That's that experience that these conferences, I think, are going to ruin if it happens.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you go to the Super League, then I think you're going to have a lot of college football fans leave college football and be like, well, this Super League is just diet NFL. And they'll either go watch the NFL or they'll watch G5, and you'll have a bunch of people leave. Now, this whole thing may end up working just because, yeah, there's a lot of money. There's a lot of viewership. There's a reason that they're trying to do this, because there is money in it. But it may not work out as well as they think, or at least as much as they're hoping. We do need to take a break. We're going to finish out the first hour here. If you guys want to join the show via the Full Court Press text line, feel free to text the show 435-339-0321.
Medicare supplement premiums seem to be skyrocketing. This is Ashley from LSS Insurance, and I want you to know there are options that allow you to start saving today. Our entire team is here and local. Call LSS Insurance at 752-9493 and speak with a licensed insurance agent. No pressure, no cost, just local help you can trust. Don't wait. Changes must be made by December 7th. Call 752-9493 and let the LSS Insurance team help you find the right Medicare plan for your needs.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. A few years ago, I saw this sign hanging in a gas station. It said price, quality, service. Pick 2 out of the 3. Now, it's funny, and I did laugh, but at My Mattress, we don't even want to do business unless we can do all 3. Price, quality, and service. We have a 90-day sleep guarantee, 90-day price guarantee, and we will answer the phone if you have a warranty concern. At My Mattress, we deliver, we have financing, we strive to be price, quality, and service every day. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Experience Barrel and Stave on Federal Avenue, where good food, good drinks, and good people meet, using local ingredients to create the most delicious taste possible. Barrel and Stave is a cozy cocktail bar offering a large selection of wines, whiskeys, and cocktails, along with an amazing selection of bar bites and weekly chef specials, guaranteed to tantalize your taste buds. With handmade pasta nights every Tuesday and Thursdays that offer $2 off drafts. Come see what you've been missing. Barrel and Stave, Tuesday through Saturday evenings on Federal Avenue in Logan.
Getting engaged? If so, come to where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers in historic downtown Logan. You'll find an incredible selection of diamond engagement rings starting at $500 with our integrity price guarantee. To make your purchase more affordable, we now offer 0% down, 6 months interest-free financing. When you come, you'll hand-select a diamond and choose the perfect ring that meets your budget. Again, take 6 months with no interest on approved credit. Open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 7, where Utah gets engaged. S.E. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block at the sign of the clock.
The Aggies, Jazz, high schools, even the Pee Wee's T-ball team. It's the Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, The Fan.
Snow, ice, and cold weather are all hard on your wiper blades, and you look out the window, you don't see it yet, but it's coming. I got myself some new wiper blades, and if you need them, Napa Auto Parts, they feature long-lasting silicone wiper blades from Rain-X, Trico. Stop in for a new set, and they'll even install them for you. Be prepared for cold weather and snow with help from your friends at your locally owned Preston to Providence Napa Auto Parts locations.
It's just going to show up one day, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful here in Cache Valley outside. If you have a chance, take us along with you as you go outside. But it's just absolutely beautiful. We're going to look out one day, Jason, and there's going to be 5 feet of snow.
Yeah, basically. That's how it works. JD, I need you to help me out. I need you to pretend that you're Eric Franson really quick, because we're going to reveal pick 6.
All right. I like pineapple on my pizza. I was born on the 27th of February. I can do this. I've been training my whole life.
There we go. So we didn't reveal this yesterday. I had to leave the show early, go to women's basketball. They had a bit of a media day. We'll hear about that. Start of next hour, we'll play some of that audio here from head coach Wes Brooks. But really quick, here are the results from pick 6. 6 things we tried to predict over the weekend. So starting with the lines that I set, we had the combined rushing yards in the Air Force Navy game. I set the line at 470.5. Eric, you took the under. I took the over, and they combined for 487.
Oh.
So the over hits. Utah Jazz, their opening preseason game against the New Zealand Breakers. The line was set at 27.5.
Uh-oh.
I took the over. Eric took the under. The Jazz won 116-87.
All right.
Pause for the math. That is 29. So the over hits.
All right. I'm not doing a good job being Eric today.
No.
I'll try to turn this one up.
Well, here we go. This is when you can turn things around a little bit because RSL goals against San Jose. Over-under was at 1.5. We both took the under, and RSL scored 1 goal. They did win 1-0, but it was just 1 goal. So the under hits.
But we're still tied. So I'm still.
Both
right.
got the point. So it's 3-1.
All right.
Still 2-point lead going into the lines that Eric set. Dodgers game 1 against the Padres set the line at LA winning by 0.5. I took the over. Eric took the under. Dodgers won by 2. So.
I'm sorry, Eric, if you're listening. I'm really trying here today.
They got to go real quick. Hodge Malik Williams, all-purpose yards, over under 310.5. I took the under. Eric took the over. He had 280, so the under hits. And then final, Braden Shager, passing yards against San Diego State, over under 255. I took the under. Eric took the over. The over actually hits.
Woo,
so there we go.
We won the last one wins.
All right, I won 5-2. So that's pick 6. We'll be back after this.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The expectations surrounding the Patriots were minimal this season. The team started out with a win against the Bengals, but they've since come back to earth. They're now 1-4. But there's hope in Foxborough. Rookie quarterback Drake May has the potential to be a star. The only issue is we haven't seen him on the field. That could have more to do with the development than his skill. You don't want to just throw your young quarterback out there, but you also want to give him some opportunities. It's a delicate conundrum. New England's roster makes that goal considerably more difficult. But if Jacoby Brissett can make it past this week's game against Houston, the Pats may have a decision to make. New England's next 8 games will be against teams with a combined record of 11 games under 500. And with a unique talent waiting in the wings of what looks like a lost season, New England's stance on quality versus quantity may become clear very soon. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise.